All right, everybody. Well, hey, welcome to the Podcasters Livestream. As always, Scott Carson, your host here. Excited to be here with you guys tonight about these. We've been doing these pretty regularly for the last few months. Tonight is no exception. We've been off the last couple of weeks just because of travel and some other events going on. So it's nice to be back here. Actually, I was in Atlanta last Wednesday night speaking for my real estate stuff. But I want to welcome you all that are showing us, because I know I see a lot of new faces. Here we had a lot of registrations for this, over 260. So I imagine we'll get different people coming in throughout it. But as always, like I said, it's called the Podcasters Livestream. Tonight's topic is about getting sponsors for your podcast. And we'll dive into that, some good stuff. We're going to open it up for questions. And then even for a few people, do some brainstorming with you to go through options for you if you're looking for sponsorships for your show, your podcast, whatever you might be. But anyway, what is the Podcasters Livestream? Like I said, it's an almost weekly webinars on podcasting. Subjects that we do here on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. It's a split of content and then also special guest experts. Like 2 weeks ago, we had Gabe Lucy on memberships coming on. We've had Inc. columnist and Entrepreneur.com speaker Tracy Hazard. We've had Tom Hazard on before. We had some really great guests on talking about things to help with your podcast, little niches. We all have, I'm a big believer that the more niche the topic is, the more effective this can be. I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes I get so sidetracked. There's so many different things we're working on. It's hard to get them all done. And so that's why we started doing these on Wednesday nights. And really the inspiration for this is, as a podcaster for being around for 3+ years, I saw a lot of information on getting started, on, hey, let's get you launched. And this is not designed to be kind of the, hey, let's get you launched kind of thing. It's supposed to help you accelerate, accentuate, and really help you, as I like to say, kind of help you grow your show once you get rocking and rolling. Now, we're not going to spend time on how to get the audio right or editing the show. We're going to go through more, I guess, as I like to say, the M&Ms, the monetization and the marketing aspect of things, okay? We do record these. I hit the record button. I do upload them to YouTube. I upload my YouTube account, which is youtube.com. We Close Notes. WeCloseNotes.com is my main company that I focus on. But before too long, once we get the first year, we'll have our own YouTube channel for just the Podcasters Livestream. And you're probably wondering, who is this guy, Scott Carson? All right. Derek, we'll get to your questions in just a second, so just hang on here. So who is Scott Carson? Like I said before, I've been an active podcaster over 3 years now. I've been marketing for 10 years with different videos and webinars and teleconferences and things like that for my real estate stuff, but I've been podcasting for 3 years now. Plus, I've got 3 different kind of podcasts, but the main one that I'm known for is the Note Closers Show podcast. The other 2 are kind of offshoots of my main show that we just surpassed episode 530. We've got over 500,000 downloads, 12 million listeners, and we're syndicated across 17 AM FM radio stations. Okay, and so give you a little bit of stuff. We've fully monetized. We're making 6 figures with our podcast on sponsorships and advertisers, and that's why I think I'm a really good source to share with you guys, because I've kind of gone outside and mixed a mixture of sponsorships and advertisers and a little bit of some other stuff tonight, and we'll go through that. All right, Derek. So encourage you guys to ask questions, but if you could do me a huge favor, make sure that you keep your questions relevant for the topic offhand. Don't type in a question that's way oddball. We'll leave plenty of room at the end here for you to ask kind of your oddball one-off questions on different things. But Derek asked a question, do you like sponsorships or versus advertisers? And I honestly think they're both the same to me. I consider them both the same, and I'll get to that. All right. So I'm just kind of checking stuff off here. But anyway, I have to give a big shout out to Podcast Business Journal. They are a sponsor of the show, of the Podcasters Livestream. I don't know if we're their sponsorship or advertiser. I think they're a combination of both. But if you check out podcastbusinessjournal.com, it's free to join. Such great content over there. Ed Ryan is just a big thing in really working hard to get you rocking and rolling. I mean, he really does a great job over there. Lots of great content for other podcasters. And so I do a big shout out to Ed, because we actually do an ad swap. So I guess we say advertisers. He allows me, he promotes this on his weekly emails and website. And then we also promote this for him as well too. So it's a great way to think. But anyway, it's all about getting sponsors for podcasts tonight. So that's what we're here for. And I don't want to spend any more time. I want to get straight into the meat and potatoes of you guys here. So let's talk about getting started. The big thing that I see is we all have shows. Now, I'm not going to sit here and split hairs about if it's a podcast, if it's just a true podcast, or it's a video that you've also turned into a podcast, whether you're using YouTube or Facebook Live or LinkedIn or Twitch or even Be Live. There's a whole variety of things that people are using video and then also using a podcast. Or I'm not going to get into, hey, I've got a radio show that we repurpose as a podcast. I know friends that do audio and video. If you got an audio video show that you're doing on a regular basis, I'm going to say we've got a show. And we're going to monetize that show because it's so early that in really the podcast sponsorship side of things that people, when you talk to sponsors, that's all that they know is the TV, the radio, that kind of stuff. It's different. This is what we're doing. We've got to power different things. But I'll get to why I want to lump us all into shows because it's the easiest thing to talk about. It's the shows aspect of what we're doing right now, okay? I don't care if you recorded it and then you repurpose it or you live stream at the same time and then throw it back up there. We've all got shows. And we are all grabbing real estate. This is what I like. It's one of the big things about podcasting that I love is that, whether it's eyeballs or earballs, listeners or people that watch on a regular basis, I don't see the competition that I do in other places, in other niches. I'll give you an example, like local realtors in a market are going to be really looking for leads, or local real estate investors are going to be dropping postcards. They're really fighting for each other. I'm a big believer, and I see this on a regular basis, there's plenty of room, especially with just the numbers being like they are, and podcasting. I mean, there's 700,000 shows, but honestly, less than 20% have recorded an episode in the last 6 to 12 months. So there's still plenty of space out there for us all, okay? But what I have found, and this is from talking to a lot of people at PodFest, Podcast Movement, networking different podcast groups, the podcasters or the people that do shows that are more successful is because they have more exposure. The more exposure, the better. Now, I'm not just talking about, I'm just going to record an episode, throw it on iTunes. Where are my millions of listeners? Bow down to me, okay? That's not the case. You've got to have some exposure, and you've got to be a little bit of patience. I don't think going into a show immediately, especially if you're kind of like us, I don't say jack of all trades, but kind of an entrepreneur or solopreneur, I don't think you can maybe get sponsored off that, especially if you know experience. You've got to build up experience. And that experience could be 10 episodes, it could be 20 episodes. You got to give it some time to nurture. You got to give it time for those seeds that you're planting to kind of grow a little bit and let your audience kind of grow for you, okay? And that's the thing when it comes to sponsorships and advertisers, you have to be able to kind of quantify what assets are you offering? What are they going to get? All right. What do you have up for sale here? I should say for sale podcast ad space, your space. Okay. And I know, look, we all have expenses. You've got editing costs. You've got time costs to do it. For those of you that are out doing all your editing yourself, God bless you. And I'm sure you're spending quite a bit of time, a couple hours for every hour of content. Me, I'm lucky enough that we have a business going and we got some sponsors immediately because I already had kind of an audience started that we have sponsors that kind of cover all of our production costs. And so we were actually making money from our podcast from almost immediately because we had some exposure and had already assets that we were able to offer up. And I'll get to that why it's important. But honestly, if you're starting off, look, give yourself some time. I mean, for those of you that like doing one episode a week, I don't think it's going to be really slow kind of growth. The more you can do, the more you can kind of bank to launch. If you've got 10 episodes, great. I think the more the merrier. Our friend Dustin Matthews started with 20 episodes and then did 2 a week after he launched with his 20. So you pre-record things. The more episodes you get, the better and more quality the data is going to be and what you can offer up to potential sponsorships out there, okay? So the question is what are you offering? Now, if you think about it, I think the best people when it comes to sponsorships is the NASCAR. You think about almost every inch of that car from front to end, it has going to have a logo on it, have a sponsor. Yeah, I'm in the DuPont Chevy Coca-Cola DeWalt tool car, was really doing well today, and I have to give it up to the discount tire, the Sylvania M&Ms, gas crew for really doing a great job out there. They do a great job of sponsorships. Now, I'm not saying you're going to tattoo a logo onto your ass or across your forehead. That's not what you're wanting. But you have to think about what are you offering up? Because it's not really about you. Because I think, don't get me wrong, yes, we're like, hey, we want to get paid for our time. We want to maximize our time. We want to monetize our time. But you have to look at what do your numbers say about your show? What what do you really have coming on? So the thing to think about is, this is the big critical point that a lot of people don't know, is you look at what your numbers are. Let's start it with the basic thing with your podcast. Take the total number of downloads that you have divided by the number of episodes that you have. Okay? Now that number roughly will give you an equal to what your podcast audience is. So let me give you an example here. So we've got 500,000, 525,000 downloads. 125,000 downloads, not including our radio space. It's different. But 525,000 downloads. We do have 530 episodes, but the first 150 were just Facebook. Okay, so I have to take that number away. So what we would do is take the 520,000 downloads, divide that by 380 true podcast episodes to figure out what roughly our average audience is per episode. Okay, so let's run those numbers. So we figure 520,000 divided by 380. That comes, I average roughly about 1,400 listeners per episode. Now I have episodes that have peaked out at 6,000 episodes. I have some people that have some episodes that have bombed, just like anything else. But on average, we see about 1,400 episode listeners per episode on the podcasting side. Now, what I also am able to do with our radio stations, they give me a daily number every month because I have an hour show, basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 a.m. And then I had those same 3 episodes repeat Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. So I'm able to get, I can't hear all listeners, obviously, because of the airways, but they can tell me how many views or how many hits their website got during the hours that my episodes played. And we average about 75,000 hits per hour. So each episode then is getting roughly, since it repeats, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening on those 3 episodes, about another 150,000 listeners on those hours, which is really great because that boosts our numbers. It helps us monetize for our sponsors that are on our shows. But anyway, I'm digressing. You also want to look at your social media. And that's why I see people ask me all the time, like, okay, do I need a website? Do I need to start an Instagram account? Do I need a YouTube channel? Do I need a Twitter account? And so you have to look at those things. Now, like I said before, I started marketing years ago. I've got 34,000 or 33,000 plus that follow me on my Facebook, another 5,000 on my personal page. I've got over 17,000 subscribers to my LinkedIn profile. Between my personal Instagram and my Note Closer Show Instagram, there's about 5,000 subscribers that follow us there. And then I have 2,800 subscribers that follow us on our YouTube account. Now, Facebook, the numbers will vary. We'll have numbers that listen, and you have to realize that your Facebook is going to have a low absorption rate, maybe like 11%. People will watch it and then go. They're not going to listen to the whole thing like they do the audio, the podcast. YouTube videos is going to be higher up. Instead of 1% for like Facebook, it'll be like 11 to 12% for YouTube. I think it's at 11% a second ago. But you're going to have 86% absorption ratio of people listening to your shows that listen to your podcast on a regular basis. So that's why we want to start with your podcast numbers, because that's the biggest thing. You could pay an episode on your Facebook Live to go big. You pay $10 to boost it, but I don't really think that's a solid number these days, the way Facebook algorithm. So I still believe in the download numbers and other really solid numbers you can solidify with things out there. Okay, so that's kind of your first basic thing, is look at your total audience exposure, because that's kind of your gravy. That's the car. That's the car and the engine that drives everything here. Now, if you don't have any, if you are getting 100 downloads, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We'll cover that, why low numbers don't always make sense. So there's things you can do initially right off the bat to help out as you're out talking to people. You want to start thinking, what are you offering? Do you want to offer like a 30 to 60 second ad that's inside your show, beginning, the middle, the end? If you've got a sponsor, do you want to do a dedicated episode? That will depend on how many episodes you're doing a month. Are you collecting emails from your audience? Do you have a large database that you can also do an email blast out to promoting your sponsors? Also, same thing. Do you want to share what you've got across social media websites? Are you doing an event? Are you going to do a live recording? Are you doing? Some people are turning their podcast and starting mini summits from it, or doing online trainings. Do you want to have event recognition at your sponsors there? So there's a variety of ways to dive into that, but we'll cover more of that a little bit later on here. I just wanted to give you a quick aspect. But that's the thing, is you have to look at what your numbers tell you first. If you're getting 5 listens, you got to build some stuff. If you only got like 3 or 4 or 8 episodes, what you have to realize is if you're thinking, what's the least amount that I have to do to get sponsors, you're in the wrong kind of thing. You got to think about, hey, you're really offering something. You want your sponsors to stick with you. You don't want them to sign up, be disappointed, and go somewhere else. You want your sponsors to stay with you over and over and over again, month in, month out. And that way it makes it easy. And that way you can really start planning as you rock and roll. But start thinking about those things as you're growing your show. Now, ad space. I think, as I mentioned before, NASCAR is the king of ad space. You look at every inch of that NASCAR, that car, it's got things anywhere from like a small little sticker all the way up to this, like Budweiser across the front of the hood or the side of the car. Now, if you're thinking about bringing on advertisers or sponsors, you're going to have to talk about them a little bit. You can do something at the front of the show, which I mean by the front of the show, basically it's after your intro. Hey, we're going to have Aaron Young on from Laughlin Associates. We look forward to having his interview. Boom, it goes into a quick little 30-second ad about what Laughlin does. You want time frame. Are you going to do it on a regular basis? Are you going to also do a break in the middle? Now, those that are taking radio shows and repurposing them as podcasts, they do a 13-minute segment and they have an ad space, a 13-minute segment and then a break for ads. You could do that as well. So I've seen some podcasters do that where they'll do one like 15 minutes into the show. I've been a guest on some shows. Like, okay, at 10 minutes, I'm going to do a break so we can do an ad insert, and then I'm going to do another break at 30 minutes there as well. And then you also have the ability to add a longer ad to the back end of your show too with it. Now, there's 2 kind of ads that I want to kind of talk about. You've got baked-in ads. What I mean by baked in, this is where you're reading the ad. You're not doing any type of like jumping on Fiverr and having a voiceover artist or somebody record a quick 30 to 60-second audio, and adding music to that and have that just place in there. A lot of baked in is that you'll hear people read it. Well, it's baked in. There's no taking that ad out once it's on there. Once you've read it and you could go back and re-edit your episode, but how many of you guys are going to do that? So baked in ads, once they're there, they're there. If you read them in, they're there. And I actually think if you're doing baked in ads, you actually should be charging more for your sponsorships or advertisers, depending on how you add them in there. Because it's going to be there over and over and over. Even after like 90 days, if they cancel their sponsorship with you, their ad's still there as people are listening back-to-back episodes. And as you add more episodes, your whole database, your book of episodes, like 530 episodes, that's a lot. If I have somebody an ad from episode 100, people will go back and listen to it. And when I see that we have a mixture, like I still get my first 100 episodes are getting 10,000 plus downloads a month. So, and our new episodes are getting somewhere between 15 and 20,000 downloads. So there's still people going back and listening because, as we all know, our listeners, our pod family, like to go back and binge, right? So I like having the ability to put dynamically inserted ads. Now, what's a dynamic inserted ad? There's not many podcast hosting companies that allow this, and some of them are very stingy. Like you've got to have 20,000 downloads. Like Lisbon will do this where they can plug and play ads, and you can change things up as you add new sponsors or you bring on new companies or whatever. You can take an ad. Let's say you have let's just say you have Logitech webcams as a sponsor. They sponsor for a year, and then after a year they cancel the sponsorship. Well, you could, with dynamically inserted ads, you could go back in, take Logitech out, and swap it in with Smart Water. Smart Water becomes an ad, or Dell computers or something like that. That's the right way to go. Dynamically inserted ads, I think, are really great because you can plug and play. Now, I have a variety of like 5 to 6 different ads that are dynamically inserted through my episodes that rotate through. So if somebody's going back and listening to episode 100, they're not hearing the ad that was baked in from there. They're hearing a new ad for something new that's going on. Now, my podcast host, the company that I work with, Podetize, is one of the few that allows you to have dynamically inserted ads in from day one, which is really kind of nice. Okay. What's the best place to dynamically insert ads? So that's a really good thing, Derek. There's 2. It all depends on your show. Okay. Now I do a variety of things. I will usually insert. I have the intro, and then we'll add in as I do, usually 10, 15 minutes in, we'll do a short little break. And in my production company, the company that hosts my company, they can go see when I do a break and then add an ad in there. I've had some people that we've done interviews, and then we interview the episode, then we go back in, do the intro. Hey, welcome to the No Closure Show, Scott Carson. I come on, give a little, 5-minute intro about the episode, what's going on, and then an ad is inserted there. Or we also will do dynamically inserted ads at the end of the episodes that keep playing for things. So it depends on your show. If you want to do a break, get in the habit of taking a quick break, because if your host company allows you to do this, like Podetize does, they're a sponsor of our podcast, because basically we help promote them. Anybody that signs up for their services and podcast editing, great. I either get a free month of hosting or I get some episodes editing for free if people sign up and work with them. So they have kind of an affiliate sponsorship with us. But I think you shouldn't be putting any ads into your first 20 to 30 episodes, okay? Because you want to give your audience some time to get to know you before you start to sell them. If you come out there, hey, buy this, buy that, and you don't want to do that. I think we all don't want to be drowned with ads right about that. We want people to get to like and trust us, and then they'll trust our recommendations and people that we bring on. Okay. In my niche of an industry, one of my peers, he brings on advertisers or vendors, and he has them and he charges them to be at his events, even though he's not using them, and he's not personally using them. Now, what I like to do is I don't go out and promote people or allow sponsors to come on if I'm not using them. If they're not a client of mine, or I'm not referring business to them or not using them, I like that trust, and my audience and my listeners really respect that I'm not out, as I say, bastardizing my list or pimping my list out to just any Tom, Dick, and Harry or any sponsor. I'm being very specific with the people that we use. Somebody is on here says, I use Lisbon, but they're too expensive to dynamically insert. Any third-party programs? I don't know about any third-party programs with that. I know that Lisbon has a cost. As I said before, podetize.com, it's a part of what we pay. It's a part of that aspect of being able to do dynamically inserted ads is part of what we cost. It's not anything extra. So that's the cool thing about them. So check them out, podetize.com. I love it because I can plug and play. Like I can say, hey, I can reach out. I can send an email and say, hey, here's a new ad. Insert this in every one of my October episodes. And they'll go and swap out the one that was in there that was running and with a new one. We had a sponsor that decided to launch their own podcast. So they said, hey, we're not going to sponsor your podcast because we want to do our own podcast. And I was like, okay, great. That's fine. Boom. With an email and pretty easy, we were able to swap out 35 of their ads that were dynamically inserted with a new sponsor, just like that. Okay. You want to change up your ads, I think, too, so it keeps it fresh, so that your audience is listening differently. They catch it. With the holiday season, we're looking at tweaking up some things. And we use Fiverr.com to create the short 30 to 45-second ads. Or even Zoom, I'll record a quick little audio here like I'm using tonight, 45 seconds to a minute and a half sometimes, depending on what the thing we're promoting. And then I'll just have a virtual assistant add music to it. And then now I've got a little ad that we can dynamically insert. But I like podetize.com. They do a great job. Tom Hazard is tremendous over there, and they make it really, really easy. They've got some really cool technology. So check them out. Give them a phone call. Reach out to them. Tell them Scott Carson sent you. They saw him here as well, and he'd probably give you a good deal. Okay? But, yeah, I know Lisbon is one of the few. They are expensive, and or you've got to have a specific number of downloads to be able to have that service added to your stuff, okay? Now, if you build it, they will come. I can promise you this. If you actually take the time and really work to build up your podcast with episodes and other things, you want to think about what they can offer you, what can you offer your sponsors, all right? And what you've built and worked on, like some of the numbers we talked about. So think about what sponsors are right for your show and your audience. And probably there's some sponsors that aren't a good fit for your show and audience, okay? As people come to you, are they a good fit or are they not a good fit? It's like when people find you on a podcast, I'm sure I get bombarded weekly with people, hey, we want to be on your podcast. So-and-so would be a great guest. I'm like, no, they would not. They're not a fit for our audience, okay? Sorry, you're not a fit. If you want to pay $5,000 to come on and be a guest once or twice or once, great. I'll accept your $5,000 to be a guest or $1,000 to be a guest because it does cost us to market. All right. But people don't want to do that. Now we have had some other things we've done. I'll cover that in a second. But you've got to know your audience or niche, know what they're going through, know what they're. And this is a great thing that I heard from a friend of mine. Said, "What is your listener going through on a daily basis? What is John Smith, the note investor, since I'm the note closer show, what is he facing on a daily basis? Does he get up? Is he putting his kids ready for school, driving them, going to work? What's his work week look like? What does he get off? What's he spending time on at night? What's his traffic jam look like? Because that's, you got to think about what he's going through. What is he using during the day? What tools are you using, okay? You also got to know, too, your audience is a local audience. Like, I'll give you an example. If a realtor has a podcast, say in Austin, are they targeting local listeners? Our friend Phoebe Rochek has a new podcast, New to Austin. And so her focus on people that live in Austin or visiting Austin. So she's going out and getting sponsorships and interviewing cool things that are going on there, either events or restaurants or things like that. And you got to know your numbers. What makes sense? If somebody's really looking like we have one of our radio stations is in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and they get a ton of hits. I could go say, hey, if you like to, hey, Mr. Realtor, we get 75,000 hits in an episode on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we also get another 75,000 Friday, Saturday, Sunday night when we do a repeat. Would you like to be on to have as an ad or as a sponsor for that episode? And we'll have you on to talk about it and stuff like that. So there's got to know what's going on. Do you have a local audience? Is it people that you hang out with, or is it a nationwide audience? And know kind of what that numbers aside thing. Like, I'll give you an example. Like in the note business, I'm a big believer that my niche is so small that there's probably less than 20,000 true note investors out there. But we get a lot of real estate investors that listen to the show. Like, we average from the very first month to now, we average 17,605 listeners per month. Okay, that's unique listeners, not double up. Okay, now double up, it's closer to the 28,000. Especially for the last 12 months, we've averaged in there like 28,000 unique downloads per month. No, that stuff. So about 1,000 per day. That's a pretty good number for our little niche show, but I think that's a bigger number than what there's actually in the industry. So we get a lot of listeners, a lot of looky-loos, but that's still, those people are still buyers. Those are still people that will listen to your show and will listen to your advice and what you're sharing with them. And they'll like, hey, they want to be in like you guys, okay? They want to be in like Angela or Claudia or Derek or Kyle or Megan or Tashi. What are you guys doing? What's Tashi doing with this podcast? What was the website Tashi talked about? Oh, I want to go check that out. Or what does Tashi use as a service? Oh, I need to go check that out. Okay? That's the thing you want to think of. What's the day in the life of your listener look like? Okay? And then I think the most effective relationships, because you're really going to have a relationship. I'm not talking about dating or marrying, but you're having a relationship really with your listeners. Think about this. Where else are people listening to you on a daily, weekly basis for 30 minutes to an hour or 15 minutes on a regular basis on their commute, their drive home? They really get to know you. Where are they watching your videos if you have good videos? And this is something I get weekly. I get people that reach out to me, hey, I've been following your videos for 3 to 6 months, or I've been listening to the podcast for 3 to 6 months. I'm now ready to do something. I'm now ready to sign up for a class that you teach, or I'm really willing to take action. I really want to do something. So think about what problems can you solve of your listeners. Now, I know some of you guys have different niche podcasts. Don't see it so, well, my podcast is on beer drinking and different types of beers. Great. What kind of beers can you expose your audience to? What kind of microbrews? What kind of festivals are going on? We'll get to that in a little second, okay? Think about what products you use. Like right now, I'm using a Logitech webcam. I can talk about that I use a Yeti Blue mic sometimes, or if I'm using Bose headsets. I've got friends that have gotten, my friend Michelle Weinstein works with accountants. She's called the Pitch Queen, okay? And she got Logitech webcams to actually sponsor her podcast. So she gives away Logitech webcams on her stuff. She does some promotions there, some of her episodes. She does some social media stuff where she's promoting that stuff as well. So it's kind of the aspect of things, like I'll give you a great example. Think about Baker Mayfield right now with the Cleveland Browns. He's on a lot of different advertisers promoting different products and things like that. So I don't know if he's using them, but still products that they're using on his popularity to actually sell their products, okay? And as I mentioned before, what companies, what services do you believe in? This is an important thing. I don't think you want, especially with podcasting, I think our audiences can turn pretty quickly if you promote something and it turns out to be crap. Okay, our buddies Joe Fear and Matt Wolf, who run the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, their whole podcast is on marketing, but it's on the stuff that they use on a regular basis. Their software, websites, products that they use, and that's how they've gotten sponsors for their shows. It's usually more affiliate split. They test the products, they test the websites, and they get a nice cushion, a nice chunk of the profits or affiliates what somebody signs up for. But their listeners really love what they're doing. Now, they don't have a huge database of stuff, but they've built this audience over the last couple of years where they get about 100,000 downloads on their episodes. They're getting a lot of people that listen to them, trust them. And that has led to people that have signed in, followed them, are paying them actually monthly on newsletters to line up, learn more about what they're offering, and kind of get their behind the screen look to things, okay? Now, somebody asked me earlier on what the difference between advertisers and sponsorships. I kind of throw them all in together because I want my advertisers to be happy. So there's different options you can do. Now, when I first got started, the whole CPM model, that's well known through radio and TV. And that means cost per 1,000 listeners. And so remember, we talked about before, taking your total number of downloads divided by the number of episodes. That's going to give your roughly number of listeners. Now, mine was 1,400. Now, what they often will do is you will see a CPM thing be anywhere from $3 to $34, okay, per 1,000. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to do it. Now, if I had somebody who was a sponsor on 10 episodes times 1,400, what's that come to? That's 140,000 times, let's say, $16. That's, CPM. That's not so bad. But you have to look at different things when it comes to that's the old way of doing things. I don't like that, and I don't think you should do that initially as a new kind of podcaster, especially if you got that 20, 30, 40 episodes going and you've got some really good listeners, starting to build some momentum. I think you go to kind of either a flat model, a flat monthly fee, or you go to a stair-step model as you grow your audience over 6 to 12 months. Now, what's a flat monthly fee? Maybe you're just charging your sponsors $1,000 a month and they get a short. Maybe you have 4 sponsors at $1,000 a month and you rotate an episode. If you're doing multiple episodes, 3 to 5 a week, you're going to have 12 to 20 that they can rotate through. If you're only doing 2 a week, then maybe you want to have 1 sponsor. Maybe you only have 2 sponsors. We're going to rotate to. You're going to be the first. You're going to be on the Tuesday, and such is on the Thursday. Okay. Now, I like the stairship sponsorship, so I started seeing some growth take place as people started listening. And that could be like, I'll give you an example. Say, hey, as long as we're getting 10,000 downloads a month, you're going to pay me $1,000 to be one of 4 sponsors. Okay. But when we go to 15,000, your cost goes from 1,000 to 1,500. When we exceed the 20,000 a month downloads, it's going to go to $2,000 a month. That's kind of the stair step. As you grow, their cost grows. If you fade, of course, they fade. Or you may want to say, hey, here's what we average over 90 days. If we get to the point where we average over 90 days, your sponsorship bumps up. Okay. I've done event sponsorships. We did a 1-day thing here in Orlando prior to PodFest, and I sold an ad space out for a sponsor to come out. And they came out and paid us some money to be the event sponsor. They got an hour to talk, and then we also had them on one of our podcasts, Night in America, where they had that whole episode was talking about what they're doing and what they're focused on. So that's something to think about too. If you're doing an event, you want to give your sponsors some time to talk. And then you may want to follow up with, hey, a special sponsor-only episode or a special sponsorship mini episode, something like that. That way it allows them. That was really good because the people, when we did our 1-day thing, there was only like 30 people here. But when we did the webinar, we had 165 people that showed up to the webinar that listened. And then their episode seen another 280 replays and views on YouTube. And they really liked it. Like, wow, we had like 20 people register on our website to look at assets we were selling. We had also 10 people reach out to us about our fund. So they were like, this was great. They really like it. Let's do it again. Let's talk about something more consistent. Product sponsorship, this is like I talked about with like the webcam, what Michelle Weinstein's doing, or promoting a product or website. Like in our industry, we use a website called Rentometer, or Rentometer as they call it there. It's a website, basically you type in the address of a property, it gives you kind of the average rents and what you can expect. And once you've done 12 of them, and it wants to charge monthly. So they charge a monthly subscription rate, or he has a subscription rate, and we're working through, okay, how many people are we sending to them? We used that website product before, so they really like it because we are feeding them business. And I can show that because with our downloads and our SEM REM, or SEM Rush, it shows what keywords I rank for, and Rentometer is one of our top 50 keywords that we rank for on the show as we're talking about due diligence and other things on our podcast. Okay. You can also, this is the easiest thing for a lot of people to start off with, is affiliate sponsorships. Not everybody's good at it. You got to be careful about doing affiliates. Affiliates will often want you to promote. You don't want to kill your list by over promoting, unless it's something that you use. Like I'll give you an example. One of our sponsors is Laughlin and Associates. They're a firm out of Nevada that does legal documents. And since we're in real estate, we have a lot of legal documents, LLCs and things like that. Well, they had an event this last week called Magnify Your Wealth. Well, we were playing dynamically inserted ads promoting Magnify Your Wealth and how people could sign up for the services. Well, if people go and sign up for their workshop, we get a split of sales. And most affiliates will be anywhere from maybe 10%, which is on the low end, which that's more so like websites and products. But if you're doing an event or a sales training or something like that, you should be able to see 25 to 50%. So if you sell something, you should get a kickback of somewhere in 30% to 50%. Now, Laughlin pays us 30% affiliate splits on anybody that signs up for their product. And they still pay us a monthly flat fee, so we have kind of a mixture thing with them. Okay, but that's an easy thing. If you got an event you're going to, like I'll give an example. If you're doing a podcast on like Marvel or comics or something like that, I would go out to the different local Comic Cons that are coming around, find out when they're going to be there, and see if you can't get an affiliate rate relationship to refer people to them. So if they use your affiliate code, boom, they sign up for a ticket at $197, or it might be you might get a $97 kickback. It's pretty cool. Okay, like our buddies talked about Joe Fear from Hustle and Flowchart. They're speaking at this big marketing convention called Traffic Conversion, and Traffic Conversion Summit's in San Diego. It's like $1,000 to go. Well, Traffic Conversion Summit gave them a special discount code that knocks $200 off the $1,000 ticket. So it's $800 if they sign up using Joe's discount code, but they'll still get a kickback of 25, 30% of the tickets. So it's a nice thing to promote. So it's truly a win-win, because now the event that's going on is promoting, trying to get people sign up, and they like podcasts that are going to be focused on sponsorship or that marketing aspect of things that are driving. And if, hey, I'm going to come meet me at Traffic Conversion Summit or PodFest or something like that, that could be a good thing. You can do ad space, ad swaps. This is kind of a common thing. Like we talked about that earlier in the very beginning with Podcast Business Journal. I'm not paying to sponsor his thing. He's not paying to sponsor. We just did an ad swap, and it makes sense. Because some of you are coming to this from seeing that article, seeing those ads on Podcast Business Journal. And that's a great thing. And those that are coming to us other places are seeing it and going and signing up for Podcast Business Journal, which is nice. Okay. You could do a mixture of all of these. What you have to realize is some people, well, what works best for me? I don't know what works best for you. I don't know what works best for you because I don't know what your show is. And we'll talk a little about that in a little bit here. But more importantly than anything else, as you're getting to the point where you're wanting to add sponsors to your podcast, you're thinking about that, you really need a pitch book. You need something that you can share versus just talking in an email. You want something that they can take and look at. All right. Now, I think it's really good to have testimonials from people that you refer business to. Okay. Think about the vendors that you use in your business. Like I think about my business. I talked about some of them. I'll cover them in a little bit here. But like I go to the grocery store, or I go to the movie theater on a regular basis, or we go to an all natural pet store for our cats and our dog. Okay. I go to the bank. I go to Wells Fargo, or there's a website I use, or there's an IRA company, an investment company that I use on a regular basis, or I'm referring business to already on a regular basis. So I like to get those testimonies. Yeah, Scott Carson, or I'm already getting business from the Note Closer Show. Okay, you want to shows some of your assets. Not by your assets, I'm talking about your butt. Okay, or your assets. Like in my real estate, we consider that real estate. It's like some of your assets that we talked about before. Hey, show your number, your downloads. Maybe you have a screenshot of your downloads. Maybe you have a screenshot of the number of subscribers you have to your show, or you show the number of 5-star reviews. All right, show your numbers. Don't be afraid. This is where you need to brag on what you're doing and what you're good at. And don't get wrong. If you've got a small number, but it's a very focused number, like we get 6,000 downloads a month, but it's specifically to my niche. As Gabriel Lucy said 2 weeks ago, he's got a really small niche of dealing with country club and private club members, like golf courses and tennis clubs. All right, not everybody's listening to his show, but the people that listen to the show are very specific. So it's easy to get sponsors that are willing to pay for it. Like in the finance side of things, I have a very niche aspect of what I do. So it's easy, we get sponsors that'll come in, and it's a finance sponsorship that's obviously going to pay a little bit more than, say, somebody selling T-shirts or somebody talking about a show. I'll give you an example. If we've got any Walking Dead fans out there, there's a podcast out there. A couple guys were fans of The Walking Dead, and I don't know the name of it, forgive me, but they were so great at their show, and they would reach out and finally to get some of the people that were on the episodes of The Walking Dead to come on to guest. So that The Walking Dead finally sponsored them, and they decided, hey, let's start an event. So they were able to start an event, and they had somebody come in and help pay them to run an event based off their popularity. Okay, but dress up your podcast. Take some time in your pitch book. I'll share a little bit kind of what mine looks like. But more importantly, don't be afraid to ask for the sale. If you've got great numbers, or you dominate a niche, or you got really great listeners, you're getting a lot of feedback, don't be afraid to ask for the sale. No does not mean no forever. It means not right now. Okay? All right? And you could I've had people that have done, you could do 30-day ads, depending on the episodes you have. You could do 90-day ads. You do a full 1-year contract if you want to do. It all varies on. We've offered up all those 30-day, 90-day, and 1 year as sponsorships to our sponsors out there, depending on what was going on with their offering up. Okay, give them some options. They're brand new. They don't know you. A shorter sponsorship gives you some opportunity to kind of prove your audience, prove that you can drive business to them. And we've done that with a couple websites. Hey, Note Pros came to me and said, okay, let's do a short little sponsorship and see how we do that. And they're like, oh my gosh, you were the best promoter of anything we've dealt with. We'll work with you and give you a 50% split on our sales. I'm like, okay, cool. So here's what I do. And Ben, I'll actually, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to bring up my pitch book first. Are there any questions about what I've covered so far before I bring it kind of so you guys can see what kind of my pitch book looks like? Now, when I had my first sponsor, I reached out to somebody that was a buddy of mine that has a radio show. Like, do you have a sponsorship form? He's like, yeah, he sent me a 1-page Word doc, which just kind of outlines some of their assets, and then a 1-page credit card form. Okay. And I was like, okay, I took that and tweaked it for my stuff and what I wanted to offer up, and it's worked out well, but we've also ramped up some stuff. So Gary has a question here. Thanks, Gary. It's showing our numbers. If Squarespace is showing 12,000 unique subscribers per month, but Podtrack is showing 2,000 downloads, is it problematic to go with a higher of the two? No, I would go with both. Don't say you got 12,000. If Squarespace is showing that you get 12,000 unique subscribers, but Podtrack is only showing 2,000 downloads, is it unique downloads or total downloads? Subscribers, because it could be 12,000. And how many episodes do you have out there too, Gary? That's another thing. Are you doing weekly? How long is your show about? What's your show about? What's your podcast? You're doing a weekly show, 180 episodes. So you've been going for almost, wow, congrats, almost 4 years, buddy. Congratulations. So you're welcome. I would say both. Hey, Squarespace shows that we get 12,000 unique subscribers to the show per month, but we're only getting about 2,000 downloads. That's fine. That's per episode, right? Podtrack's are 2,000 per episode, or is that total? Because I'll give you an example. Like my numbers here. Let me share this with you. I think you'll like this. Let me do a new share. Let me pull this up. Do I have it up? I usually have this up. Okay. So I got two things I'm going to share with you guys. So live, close these out. Done, done, done. Anonymous says, I have 547 episodes, and I only done my radio show for almost 3 years in March 2020. So it'll be 3 years next March. That's awesome. 547 episodes, that's great. But hang on a second. So what I like to do is I'll show the numbers here. So let me share this. So like I track everything. So like my podcast numbers, if you can see the screen here, I got a spreadsheet pulled up. So you can see the number of downloads each month. Like last month, October, I had 28,000 downloads. The average from the beginning, 17,000, so I know my numbers. As far as unique downloads, was 18,890 unique downloads, because I can pull those numbers off of my off of podetize.com after I upload stuff, so I can see the numbers. They track it. I can also that's just straight up downloads. I need to go put in there how many episodes I want, so I can really see. So this is something I shouldn't like, because we swap out across the point, because I'm getting people to listen to past episodes and stuff going forward. So this is a strong number. People want to see number of downloads, right? That's great. But then I also will look over and I'll share like my AM FM radio view. So I can tell you, okay, I got 75,000 hits this day, 74,000 hits this day. And they can see, for the month, we had 2 million listeners on the radio stations, but we averaged just under 75,000 there. And then for the total, since we started this in March, we were at 11,587. I mean, 11,587, 11.5 million listeners on the radio shows. So I share that all with them. Okay. Does that make sense? Let me do a new share. Okay, so total per month. We are video-based podcasts and have a lot of streaming content that occurs, but not full downloads. Our shows are 1 to 2 gigabytes each. We also release the audio as a podcast. Okay, great. Add both of them, Gary. Go to your download numbers, but then I would also go to your Facebook or your YouTube. So that's one thing I also will throw in my sponsors. Let me share this back here with you. Is I show, okay, how many downloads did we get or how many views did we get on YouTube? All right, so my video views, sorry. Okay, so you can see here. Here's a number on Vimeo. I use Vimeo on YouTube. We used to be big on Vimeo, very little on YouTube, because with our education and training, but I use both. But YouTube's our bigger thing. So you can see, okay, since this year we've had 50,000 unique views, and we're at what are we at? Over 500,000 watched. And then I also track new subscribers each month. So we've added 1,300 new subscribers to our YouTube channel. Now, why is that important? Well, one of the things I talk about with our sponsors is that we have the community button on YouTube. If you have a YouTube channel, you should have a community button that you can send direct messages to all your subscribers. So it's a great way to target the people that are watching your YouTube channel on a regular basis. They're subscribed to you. All right. But so I share all that stuff. All those numbers add up. Okay. My other podcast numbers, I put that in here too so they can see. Because if they're going to speak, maybe they've spoken like we did. Note Night in America is my Monday night webinar we do. That's a podcast. We take that and throw that as a podcast. And then I also have Note Camp as another podcast that we do. That's just an event. It's kind of like a season series. So we got 81,000 downloads on Note Camp this year. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Across 2 different camps there. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, just if their ads are going to be on your YouTube, you're going to bake them in, or they're going to be part of it as a guest. Share everything, okay? Especially anonymously at your radio show. If you're going to have a guest on who's going to be a sponsor, pay to be on that sponsor that episode, great. Share everything with them, okay? And our videos are in Apple Podcasts. Specifically, we host on Amazon. Okay, that's great. That's awesome, Gary. Good stuff for you, bud. That's great that you're doing video and audio. So share it all. Share it all with your potential sponsors, because it's like, hey, here's where we're getting hits. It's all about eyeballs and earballs, remember? All about eyeballs and earballs. So what I did is I had my assistant, and as soon as we created this, it's outdated. Okay? But what we did, since we have kind of the 3 podcasts, 4 things that we do, the No Closure Show, Note Night in America, which we've been doing for a couple of years, which is the webinar but now podcast, and we have our special Note Camp events, is our vendor program. And then I also put up on here our 17 markets that we're in for our radio station. So the people, it's just not Austin, Texas. It's here's where it's unique, Long Beach, Vegas, Colorado Springs, Boulder, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Lancaster, not Guantanamo. That's Cuba. What's between DC and Baltimore? Where's the CIA? Quantico, Virginia. Where that Macon, Georgia, Tampa, the Villages, and Newport Richey, Florida. So that gives them a chance to see kind of it's a bigger thing, right? And then we flip in here the No Close shows. Here's broadcast live day, at least 25,000 listeners each month on average. Facebook Live program each day with 500 to 1,000 daily views because we do reshare it there. 400,000 plus downloads of episodes across iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and other podcasting platforms. 7,000 plays across YouTube and video per month. I show the different things we're on. We are on iHeartRadio too, and that's not on there. Oh yeah, there it is. But some of the other things that we've done, Roku. Like one of the nice things is that our radio stations that we have our podcasts, they have over 135,000 Roku subscribers that watch stuff outside of listening. Okay, and then I share some of my other stuff, my other real estate. I have 100,000 active investors database, 60,000 plus social media when you figure in 33,000 on my business page, 17,000 on LinkedIn, 9,000 on Twitter, 70,000 plus listeners per episode that we approve. This is stuff that you want to be able to prove, okay? And so you can see on here, we close notes, 2,600 subscribers. That's actually up now. My business page, 33,000. Okay, social media. And then we talk about the vendor benefits because they're all vendors. Welcome post to my groups, vendor spot on our quarterly workshops where they get notice, hey, thanks for our sponsors. They're on the websites. If we do Don't Night America, they get a feature slide talking about our sponsorships, either at the beginning or at the end. We do an email blast out. With what I do, since I'm cranking out 3 to 5 episodes a week, I will have them on at least once per month. Like I had Aaron Young from Lawful Associates on yesterday. We talked about what he wanted to talk about. I have Merrill Chandler, who's with Credit Sense, is one of my sponsors, on tomorrow for an hour. Okay. We rotate ads throughout the rotation of 3 ads available. When we have a mastermind event, we talk about them. We have them on our website. We promote their events they've got going on. We'll do back episodes with a 2 to 5 minute ad. Mini ad to be played across 50 other podcast episodes, which is nice. And then we also put their ads on our other podcasts too. And we will also do this. So that's kind of my 5-page kind of thing, the vendor agreement, their name, contact, billing information. And so this is, $2,000 per month. I would change this. This is that $2,000 per month for 90-day sponsorship per entity. So if some people, like we had people that, hey, I got 2 entities, I'd like to be double sponsorship. Okay, we'll give you a bulk deal. If you're going to sign up for 2 sponsors, then we're going to drop it down to $3,500. Okay. Okay. That's at 90 days. Now, if they want to do it longer 90 days, then we'll drop it to at least $1,500 to start off with, or rotate it from there. And we don't let them send a check in. We want to set up an automatic debit. So give us a credit card so we can charge a card every month. But that's my vendor agreement. It's pretty simple, and we created this in Canva. And so it just kind of shares, hey, what we got going on and our listeners. And the more niche-y you know about your listeners as well, too, there's an extra page that I usually send that talks about who are the Note Closer Show listeners, okay? Who is listening to the Note Closer Show, all right? Another thing that I created, I also took our reviews. I took a chunk of our 5-star reviews because we've got 150, 160 reviews of just one podcast. So I just took a chunk, like 50 quick images, and I had my assistant, you could have a VA actually do this, create little images, or took the quotes, 5-star quotes and the names, and we made a video, short 1.5-minute video that just rotates, hey, what are some of our 5-star listeners saying about the podcast? And it's just rotating through. So it's a nice little video that we'll be adding out as well to them. So does that make sense? Everybody kind of what we did with that? Questions about the sponsorship thing? But you want to create something like this that you can give, that they can take. All right, even an email is great, but when you have visuals behind just an email, that works. I mean, this looks a lot better than just saying, hey, I'm in 17 radio stations, right? they can see it's truly a nationwide audience. Okay. So anyway, going back here, I promised I would give you a breakdown on what we do. So like we had Quest Trust Company as a sponsor, and they started off paying us $1,000 per month. It increased as we grew. They were at the 1 year. We were with us for 2 years. They had an episode once a month, and that was really, we just charged them once a month, $1,000, $2,000 when they renewed, and went from there. Lawful Associates is another sponsor. Quest Trust Company is a self-directed IRA company that works really well with real estate investors. That's why they were a great sponsor for us, because we were also their number one refer new accounts every year. And so we refer a lot of business to them. So it makes sense. They were the first sponsor that I landed when I started the podcast. I went to them and said, hey, do you want to sponsor the podcast? Because I've got this audience. And like, oh yes, we'd love to sponsor your events or your show. They didn't even know what a podcast was, but they were ready to sponsor it. Lawful Associates, another one company that we use a lot with. We're in a flat fee plus an affiliate split of sales. So they get an episode, and then we get a check every month, besides charging them too for that. And they get an episode and other things as well too. Credit Sense, same thing, a flat fee plus an affiliate split because they have different workshops and things. I've attended both the workshops, and I'm a client of both actually all three of these companies. So I say I'm a client. That adds a lot of value that, hey, you should check them out. I don't use them, but check them out. Okay. We'll do episode sponsors. Somebody comes on, they've got a book. Now I do a little bit things differently with episode sponsors. Somebody comes on that I know, I like and trust. I know, or they have something that's valuable. I'll let them come on and talk about their book, but I want them to give me 50 to 60 copies of their book. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to give that to another bit of my memberships. I have a membership that I charge some of our listeners. So we have you have raving fans. So as you build raving fans, why don't you turn your raving fans into your advertisers or sponsors as well? Because they love you, and so they want to get more of you. We get people that get all excited about pop sockets, or stickers or hats or T-shirts. And so we'll take those books that we get from some of our people that are on an episode, and then we'll send those out to our monthly sponsors. And I started that in March of last year. And people are still around to this point, a year and 9 months later, or a year and 8 months later, still sponsors paying us $97 a month. They get a little bit extra coaching, they get a little bit extra webinars, a little bit more one-on-one. They get discounts too to our vendors. They also get special discounts to some events we go to. So it's kind of a really cool split coaching discount and kind of swag that we offer them up. So they really love that. Like I said, we've had paperstack.com as a website that does notes. We had them be an event sponsor for $500. Basically covers some ad space, cover across the room. And then they got signage at the event. They got to speak for roughly about 40 minutes. And then we also did an hour-long webinar with them. And they were really happy with that. Renometer.com is a website we've been going back for. Right now we're split of sales on referrals. Trying to get them to sign up to sponsorship. They want to do a test run for 90 days and then look back after 90 days to see if it goes any longer, which is fine. And there's another website, notepros.com. This is a due diligence website where people use. We use it. It's $29 a month or $99 a month. It depends on what you sign up for. And we get a split of sales for promoting, but we use them. So those are kind of our different levels of sponsorship that we get from different things. We're constantly looking for different sponsors. I'm always looking to add we've got 2 spots available for longer term sponsors. And as we add events and grow, especially we're going to be probably doing this next year, we're going to probably be doing some live events, like live one-day recordings, and probably doing some local sponsorships just for those events as well. Like, I'll give you an example. If you're like a realtor in a podcast, who would you have on? Well, you probably have on your inspector as a sponsor, your mortgage broker, your title company, your staging, your handyman as a sponsor, your insurance agent. Those are the things that you would have on, because those are people that your clients would use on a regular basis and good work advice. So what I want to do now, let's talk about your shows. We've already talked with a couple guys a little bit about their shows, but those that are on here, let's see. Dion, Gary talked about your show a little bit. Jay, Kevin, Kyle, Randy, or Tashi. What are your shows about? And if you're available, I can even bring you on live. Dion, Claudia, if you want to come on and talk a little about your show, if you've got a microphone there, we don't have to have a webcam, but we just talk about your show. a little bit and maybe help you brainstorm a little bit. Okay. Tashi says, okay, cool. All right, Tashi, the first one. So I'm going to bring you on live. Hopefully you're not naked or running around the house or something like that. Claudia says, all guests are asked to make a small investment, $20, non-refundable, to cover production, editing, and marketing, and as a sign of your commitment to promoting your episode, receive the following in return. Okay, great. That's great, Claudia. We haven't talked about setting up a, what's the website that a lot of people set up for sponsors? I know some people that set up Patreon accounts, and they have anywhere from like $5 a monthly Patreon, so $100 a month. I know my friend Doug Sandler, if you want to come on his podcast and you want to get extra promotion, you can pay $300 to do a whole extra social media promotion of the episode too. Okay. Dion, what's your show about? Claudia says, yes, I do have a Patreon, no hits yet. So what I might go do, Claudia, is go back to your guest or your listener and say, hey, maybe, what's your show about, Claudia? Tell me about your show. Tell me what your focus of your show is, because everybody's got a different niche, okay? Some of the things that I'm doing won't work for you. Others that you're doing may not work for me, okay? So I'm going to bring Tashi on first while you guys are answering the rest of that stuff. So let me bring him on. Tashi, let's see here. You should be allowed to talk. You gotta unmute yourself, though. Tashi, are you there? Unmute. Tashi, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Man, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your show, your podcast.
Okay, so it's actually a TV review. It's called TV Channeling, and it's a TV review podcast, and we also talk about TV, film, and entertainment news, and it's weekly.
Okay, cool. So you do a weekly kind of, I won't say Entertainment Tonight podcast, but kind of that review aspect of what's going on in TV and movies and stuff, right?
Yes, but better. I'm kidding.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, but better.
So do you have sponsors already? How long have you been doing it for?
No, this is going into our third year. And
oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done the sponsor thing yet because, everything is kind of like a cycle. We need to up the number of listens. I mean, we're okay, but we could do more in terms of listens. And so in order to do that, sometimes they want to know that you have X amount of people listening. And then, so it's kind of cyclical. So we're in the process of trying to get all that together because, everybody thinks they're good, obviously, but we know we're good.
That's good. So is your listeners or audience nationwide, or do you have a local following?
No, they're nationwide because we're actually in two different places. So I'm in Fort Lauderdale and my podcast partner is in LA. So we're kind of this bi-coastal thing. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
We've also got international listeners because we actually found each other on Anchor. And
nice.
We kind of already had a following because of Anchor, and it's very international. So we've got international listeners as well.
So since you're talking about shows and you're talking about movies, the thing that pops in my mind right off the bat is like targeting maybe a movie, a cinema. Like in Austin, we have something called the Alamo Draft House. They serve food and alcohol. And they have different special events, and they have something called the membership they have over there? The Victory things where more you go, you get discounts and stuff like that. So you maybe think of AMC, or there's something you can reach out to that you could have somebody coming on. Maybe they could do, because I just start thinking about when I go to the movies, you see the previews before, and you have the Stephanopoulos chick on some different cinemas.
Yes.
Talk about what's going on.
Yes.
So maybe they could do a preview of that.
That's a good idea.
You might maybe if there's some there's another thing. There's all sorts. We've got some buddies that are in the film space.
Okay.
Private, there's smaller films. And we all know there's the straight to the DVD series of movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, straight to Netflix these days, right? So
Correct.
what you might do, since you're in that stuff, you might want to reach out to some of these regional movie celebrations or regional film festivals.
Ah.
And maybe you can be a sponsor for them and get an affiliate split on ticket sales or things like that.
Interesting. Okay, we hadn't thought about that.
And so it's like I said earlier, if you're doing things, maybe since you're in one coast and he's on the other coast, maybe you could reach out to, I don't know, Comic-Con or other shows, events, because that's the thing that just comes to my head, off the top of these festivals or these conventions, and do the same thing. Hey, if you're in LA this weekend, like my partner is, head on down to San Diego to the biggest Comic-Con, and if you go to the website and use the code Tashi, it'll knock $100 off your ticket or something like that.
Okay. Awesome.
Because that would be the easiest thing I think for you too, is affiliates, or hey, what's coming to theaters this what's coming out next month, and that could be a good thing, especially like I think of, what is it, AMC that does like an all you can watch thing, like a weekly. They have a membership they're trying to do where you could come to a movie once a week.
Yeah.
And they were looking for promotions on that, so there might be something to think about that you could align yourself with. You might want to find out there's some magazine. I mean, there's plenty of magazines. Maybe you can do a cross promo where you talk, where they give you an ad space and you're promoting their show or promoting their magazine on your show, talking about the episodes, or maybe it's something like that as well too. I don't know.
Fantastic. I think our big thing too also is because we do television reviews, we end up, because we haven't been able to get screeners, it's like an uphill battle, and we would like to get screeners so we can review these shows before they come out, and that has been so difficult. So what we end up doing is watching it when everybody else watches it, and then quickly trying to do a review of it.
You're kind of you're behind the 8 ball before you even get started, right?
Exactly.
So that's what I would do. Just reach out to some of these festivals, because they're the ones that are playing the movies beforehand, because that's where the big companies go to buy their movies, to watch, like Cannes, they go to there to watch it. And, okay, we'll buy your movie and have it all across Europe or Japan or stuff like that. Maybe you can get invited to one of these junkets, but reach out to them and say, hey, you're in the media, you do this big review, you got these listeners and stuff like that. That might even lead to, having some of these actors on your show or anything like that to talk beforehand. So
fantastic. Thank you.
Another thing you might reach out to is also some of the movies are doing, especially as you go through times of year, they're doing different parties. Like I know Alamo Drafthouse has an ad in front of everybody. Hey, come celebrate your Christmas party with us. Maybe you can get affiliates split off of a promo for that. Obviously, what's big is alcohol. If there's, distilleries or something like that, that might be something to come on to hey, come out and watch a movie here or stuff like that too. I don't know. Might be a way to. Our show is sponsored by Smirnoff. The movies are just better with Smirnoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I would reach. You're in such great markets with this too. I would just reach out to your local TV channels, and they may be able to give you some insight into some of those different cinema festivals and things that happen throughout the year.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because I know we have a friend that's I've got a friend, or we've got a friend who started was one of the founders of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Frank Shakowitz. And they've had this movie that they've been promoting for 2 years called The Wish Man. And I found out tonight that Frank sent a post out. I saw this, that he's actually got a spot on the Hallmark Channel about some ad about the Make-A-Wish that's fallen in line with the Hallmark season thing. So that, although the Hallmark Channel is kind of cheesy, and I'm going to get something chunked at me here in a second. Some of those smaller channels, they run, they're running a new Christmas movie every week. Maybe it's something you get lined with as well too. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Or even cable networks. Maybe that might be a good way. Cable, or even some of these new streaming services might be a great way to reach out to for promos or affiliate splits on as well too, if you promoted them.
Fantastic. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for jumping in and volunteering.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to kick you back to just listening, and we'll go from there. All right, Tashi?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Yep. All right, so we're going to disable that. All right. Let's see. Who else? We got some more comments on here. Thank you, Tashi. That's answered already. And Claudia, we already talked about the $20 per guest. I like that. Dion, new shows up to 1,000 downloads. Plus, there's no Patreon hits. Okay. Dion says it's an interview, exploration of Chicago people and their stories. The idea is to add to the narrative of Chicago that often experiences negative narratives and add a more diverse story. I'm still working to find my niche. Honestly, okay. You have a niche, though, Dion. That's a great thing there. You're talking about the exploration of Chicago people and their stories. I've been toying with the idea of doing one in Austin just because Austin's home. I'm doing an entrepreneurship podcast, like keep Austin weird, keep entrepreneurship weird in Austin, and bring on individuals talking that are entrepreneurs talking about what makes them separate. So you've got some great stuff going. Think of all the things going on in Chicago, okay? You could talk about events or people that are I won't say Ferris Bueller, but you think about, you got parades, you've got festivals, you've got great stories. Think of all, you got Michael Jordan, you've got Scottie Pippen, you got the Blackhawks, you've got the Cubs, and that's just sporting sides. There's so many great things going on there. I think you could really add some great stuff there, and also even feature, feature some of the iconic places in Chicago. Maybe it's the festival or the art museum, or Harry Carey's comes to mind. I don't even know if Harry Carey's still open, but then you got Miller's downtown or some of those other things. When you've got a very local, like Chicago or city-specific thing, you've got a lot of opportunities there to go out and promote some things. So I think you've got some great stuff there that you can reach out to on a regular basis, Dion. Okay? Great. Awesome, good stuff. Gary Lee, awesome. Claudia says, we're always looking for guests on our radio shows. We simply love spiritual entrepreneurs, authors, artists, health and fitness readers, healers, and so many other entrepreneurs that would like to put their name out there. Okay, so here's what I would do, Claudia. With you, I would try to narrow it in, because you just rattle off entrepreneurs, authors, artists, health and fitness, readers, healers. That doesn't all speak spiritual, okay? So the more focused you can be on spiritual thing, maybe not authors. If you're going to do just an author's podcast, do an author's podcast. If you're going to do health and fitness, do a health and fitness. If you're doing healing thing, I think you're too broad. The wider you are, it's like watered down. Because some of those, like an author is not going to really come on. Like a local bookstore may not want to come on and sponsor your podcast because you've got such a watered down kind of message, because you don't have a niche kind of audience. Does that make sense, Claudia? So you may want to narrow who you've had on. That doesn't mean you can't bring on authors who have a spiritual book. I mean, I bring on people to my podcast that aren't in the note space, but they have a little niche of entrepreneurship, or maybe it's a little bit of a head space, head talk. I'll bring that on individually, but that's not going to be my sponsor that I go through. It's just maybe it's a little bit ad. But my nuts and bolts, the best sponsorship are the ones that are going to really fit that niche, your avatar, what your true avatar is. You want to know that it's okay. It's my avatar is 30. It's spiritual healers that are 35 to 55 who are making 75 grand a year. They're still working. They're college educated, and they like doing POD on the weekends. Whatever it might be. Okay, but I would bring your niche in. That will help you, because you're kind of all over the place, and so that's what you have. You got all this stuff here. Let's narrow that focus. Put the blinders on some of those people, and focus on what's your true meat and potatoes, your true nuts and bolts of your podcast, and go from there. Okay, Claudia? I have 4 other radio hosts on the radio show network. My show is on Sundays. I'm the executive producer, founder, and Sunday radio show host. I do everything. Well, first you might need to find an intern to help you out with some things. So awesome. Good stuff. Thanks for sharing. All right. Gary says, I represent the Sphere podcast studio here in Houston. We record content for about 150 podcasters here. We're always looking for new ideas to help them monetize. My specific show surrounds music reviews and artist interviews. That's been going since like 2015. So then, all right. So maybe you've got the podcast. So what goes into it? Maybe it's a software they use. Maybe it's a hosting service. Maybe it's Lisbon, or maybe it's podetize.com. Check them out. Maybe you're talking about Logitech webcams or Heal microphones, okay? What are your things your podcasters are using, or your headsets? Those would be a really great thing to go to. Or especially podcast studios, I would find out podcasting events. I would reach out to, example, like Podcast Movement's going to be in Dallas this year. Reach out to the 5 or 6 bigger events and go from there. We're actually going to be hosting a online podcasting summit the first part of January, and might be able to do a little quid pro quo sponsorship across the board a little bit. Okay, does that make sense? My sometimes music reviews and artist interviews has been going. So then I would also reach out to music festivals, see if you can't promote that, or events that are going on a regular basis. Like there's bars that have a live gig every week, you know? Like if I think of, like we have like the Speakeasy here in Austin, Texas, that they have a calendar of music every month. Like they're going to have LC Rocks, which is a hair band. Hey guys, you know, check out LC Rocks every Tuesday at the Speakeasy. You know, it might be a good way to do that. For comedy podcasts, I would maybe reach out to the local comedy club. That would be a great place. Hey, would you want to sponsor and have you on talk about who's coming to Austin for like the Cap City Comedy Club? And go from there. Okay? But the whole point is put your numbers together and reach out. Ask, hey, have you thought about sponsoring a podcast? Have you thought? I have a guy who wants to sponsor my podcast, but he doesn't want to be on episode. He goes, he wants me just to run ads for his stuff and his workshops because I've had him on before, and we always sell well for him. He goes like, I don't need a weekly episode or monthly episode. Just run ads can I run ads across every 4th episode? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Sure. Can I do a webinar once every quarter to your database? Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So it's a win-win. Who else? Anybody else want to share their show or what they're working on or brainstorm? I know we've been going. We're about an hour and a half in. I don't want to go too much longer, but I've got time for one more. If somebody else wants to jump in and talk about their show or share, come on like we did with Tashi. Thank you, Dion. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Derek, for sharing first off. Thank you, Dion. Yeah, I think if you get Dion with your Chicago, I think you've got a ton of opportunity for sponsor. I would just focus in and start top down. I won't start from the bottom up. I start top down. Hey, go reach out. You'd be surprised, especially if you've got different stories going on. So many different great stories there. You might even reach out. I got some friends in Florida who are traveling around Florida and sharing events, and they were able to get the chamber or the vacation. I'm sorry. Not the Chamber of Commerce's, maybe it is Chamber of Commerce's, I don't know exactly, but the Florida Travelers or I can't think of it, but anyway, they're sponsored now by the state of Florida to go to different events, to go and have fun, to go to festivals. Their hotels are covered, their travel's covered, and they get a little bit of money off it too, to go and visit and share their experiences of where they're going. Okay? Wow, exactly. Who doesn't want to do that, right, Tashi? Glenn the Geek from the Horse Network and his affiliate. All right, so Julie says, okay, yes. All right, Julie, I'm so glad you asked this. I'm so glad. Julie Salient mentioned me in the chat. Well, she says, hey, Scott, any ideas if I'm an animal communicator for sponsorships? Thanks, Julie. Okay, so animal communicator. First and foremost, I think it'd be really good. Reach out to podcasts you listen to. Maybe you can cross-promote each other's podcasts. That's a great way, too, because you're listening to other people's podcasts. But I would think about animals. You got vets. Is it a local thing you talk about? It might be like your local vet. It could be a food brand. Because Steph has the Fur Babies podcast. It's just on YouTube right now. So we've actually had this brainstorming thing about, hey, let's go to the local all healthy pet food guide. Maybe you have an animal trainer on. She does a lot of rescue, so maybe you can get the company that creates the rescue bags to sponsor, since you're using it to fly across the country to pick up a cat here and there. I think you've got some opportunity. But look at the stuff. Think about pets. You've got stores. You've got national brands. You've got local brands. You get like PetSmart, of course, or Banfield, maybe. Maybe the local animal shelter. Those would be something to reach out to as well. Now, how many episodes do you have, Julie? $25 episodes done, and how often are you doing an episode? 2 a week. Okay. And what are your numbers looking like right now? Your 25 episodes, how many total downloads? Are you just audio or audio and video? I mean, video adds so much too, guys. That's what you think people get a chance. Like video, you can see me here and where I'm located at, and then bringing the slides up and stuff like that too. Now, in audio, obviously, if it's on iTunes, they're not going to see that if it's just the audio, but still, people love pets, right? Cat videos, dog videos, images. But how many downloads do you have with your 25? Both audio and video. My radio show does the most with 2,000 to 3,000 downloads. Okay, so there you go. Since you're doing a radio show and it's what local to one market. Radio show does the most with 2 to 3 worldwide to 148 countries. Yeah, okay, but you're only getting 2,000 to 3,000 downloads. That's what I'm trying to get at. Your radio show does the most with 2,000 to 3,000 downloads. Where are you located? Because where's that radio station located? Florida. What part of Florida? Wellington Horse Country. Where is, sorry, I don't know where that's at. What's a big city that's near you? Palm Beach. Okay. I would reach out, hey, I have a radio show here locally. Bring on some local guys at first. Local vet. Maybe a vet that you use for your animals. Reach out to the health food store, the pets food store there locally. That's what I would do first off. Just go to your local people vendors you're already sending business to, people that you're already spending money with can be great sources for you. Okay. That's what I would do. Okay. You're welcome. Good stuff. West Palm Beach. Okay. Same thing. You check out Tashi if you're in West Palm Beach. Check out the movie, the theater, that kind of stuff there local. Maybe you'd have a local events calendar. What's going on in West Palm Beach and then LA. Maybe it'd be kind of a cool thing you have going on. All right. Great stuff. I love that you guys are sharing. Love it, love it, love it. So, anyway, guys, kind of gonna wrap it down. It's because I literally got off a plane like 50 minutes before. About 50. Arrived at our hotel here 50 minutes before we went, so I had to finish my PowerPoint and everything like that, and struggling with a bit of a cold. Oh, Tashi said no. I'm Fort Lauderdale, just saying that Wellington is near there. Okay, great. So, anyway, want to thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys being here tonight, sharing, staying. Those that didn't show up or missed out on some good stuff, I think. But we do these pretty much every Wednesday, as long as we're not traveling or something else going on the holiday. We will have one next Wednesday night. I don't know exactly. I think I've got a speaker expected to come on. I have to take a look, but encourage you. This is your first time. Really, really love it. I encourage you also to go over. We have a Facebook group called the Send Text Podcasters Facebook group. I'm in Central Texas. Doesn't mean you have to be in Central Texas to join that Facebook group. So go over, join that. We also have a meetup group called the Send Text Podcasters. You don't need to be in Central Texas to be part of that meetup group. Go join it. And we will be sending an email out tomorrow with the replays, and we'll go from there. So any other questions, comments? Thank you. As always, I'd love I would love to know topics that you guys would like to see covered. If you want to drop me an email, don't mention them here, but drop me an email and let me know what topics that you'd like to see covered for your podcast. That always helps to prime the pump when we're out reaching for things. Are you guys struggling? This is on monetization. Sponsorships will probably do more on marketing and go from there a little bit next. So I see some people already asking to join the Facebook group, which is awesome. So actually, let me do this real fast before you leave. Let me go in here. I'm just going to pull up and I'll put the actual link for the Syntex Podcasters into the chat roll so you guys can all just do it straight from here. So please join. And then also feel free to share what you really liked about the show on the Facebook group. I would really love it if you found it valuable. Let's get other people showing up and being a part of this. But we are going to be hosting an online podcasting summit with a whole variety of great experts over 3 days. We were going to do it the weekend before Christmas, but we've pushed it back now to January just because of the holidays and things like that, and giving some more people opportunity to get signed up for it. So thank you guys so much for being a part of the Podcasters live stream. As always, Scott Carson here, hoping you guys can go out and gobble up more M&Ms and monetization and marketing when it comes to your podcast and or show. And take some action. I would love also, too, if you guys have some success or you've taken some of the things we talked about tonight and applied them with success, feel free to share those. I'd love to hear from you all on your successes in your podcasts. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see y'all later. Bye.